American soldier versus the British soldier, army military comparison. Yeah, this is going to be a fun video to check out. I just get to see the comparison between the American soldier and British soldier. Yeah, I'm excited to check this out and see what happens.
It's 2025, and after a strange shift in geopolitics and world powers, the USA and the UK have found themselves going to war with each other.
Oh boy.
These longtime allies that once fought side by side in World War II in Afghanistan have become arch enemies fighting for global dominance.
Imagine.
The rest of the world looks on in horror. But who will win? There's one fact that's hard to ignore.
UK!
One side is larger than the other by a long way.
Whoa.
The United States.
Yeah.
Based on size alone, the US military is the clear winner. It boasts over 1.4.
Cheers, video done. Yo, video done. You guys won. Nice.
States. Based on size alone, the US military is the clear winner. It boasts over 1.4 million personnel, compared with a measly 149,000 in the UK. That might not guarantee success if the whole US Army consists of untrained airheads and idiots, but it doesn't hurt. Especially when you consider the amount the US spends. The American military budget is a huge $740 billion compared with the UK's much smaller $49 billion.
Mad.
Money can't buy you everything in life, but it helps to win wars. But to be fair, both countries take their military spending seriously. In terms of GDP, the USA spends 3.4% on the military, and the UK spends around 1.7%.
Right, so the USA spends double the percent, but in terms of money, it's like 10 times more than that.
That figure won't help the Brits win a war, but it's something they can nurse their national egos with. So far, things aren't looking good for the Brits. They've been outnumbered and outspent.
True.
Let's see if they can turn things around with their equipment. As they say, it's not all about the size, it's about how you use it. Which country has the best weapons, gadgets, and vehicles? If we're talking about
we're still gonna lose. You know what? I'll actually be surprised if we win in any category.
Quantities, the USA gets an easy win here, as you'd expect. Vehicles. If we're talking about quantities, the USA gets an easy win here, as you'd expect. They spend far more on the military overall, so of course, they have more stuff. The UK only has 227 tanks compared to the USA's 8,370. As for armored vehicles, the UK has 4,673 and the USA has 41,760. Is the UK's lack of resources such a big deal? Experience shows us that yes it is. During the Afghanistan conflict in 2007, the British Army stationed in the south of the country had been finding it increasingly difficult to maintain peace over the last 3 years because of their lack of equipment.
Oh wow.
Guess who had to sweep in to save them?
America.
The Americans. The U.S. Brigadier General Lawrence Nicholson brought in 4,000 Marines with a new approach. Go big, go strong, go fast. The new forces weren't exactly successful in maintaining peace, as anyone familiar with the Kandahar massacre and the Maiwand district murders will know, but they were good at going big and going strong, which could give the US an edge in battle. In Afghanistan, the British used Jackal vehicles, which are designed for maneuverability rather than protecting the person inside. The Americans had MRAPs, or mine-resistant ambush-protected vehicles. Although MRAP tanks are classified as light armored vehicles, they weigh a massive 14 to 18 tons and are a lot sturdier than the Jackals, designed to withstand the improvised explosive devices that threatened troops during the Iraq and Afghanistan conflicts. They were much more effective at keeping the troops safe from danger than anything the Brits had.
Yo, they're pretty sick, they are. They're like a armored jeep with a tank turret on.
However, the US Marines seem to have plenty of admiration for the Brits and what they achieved despite their lack of equipment. So that's something. One American Marine commented, "The biggest thing I noticed was the vehicles they drive. You guys are friggin' gutsy. I wouldn't get shot at in one of those." Does having more flimsy vehicles make the British the weaker side, or just more badass? It depends on which way you look at it. Another difference.
Yeah, I really appreciate him like being nice, bro. He's like, yo, does it since they got really awful vehicles, does that make them, you know, badass or what? Nah, it don't. It don't. We just got, you know what I mean? It's not badass. We just gotta do what we gotta do, man.
Between the British and US armies is their deployment of women on the front line. We don't want to say women are better or worse in the military than men, because that'd probably start a war in the comments section, so we'll let you decide, but it's definitely worth mentioning.
No, do not decide. Do not cause that argument in the comment section.
In Afghanistan, the U.S. Marines were shocked to see women wandering around shower blocks wrapped in nothing but a towel.
Wait,
With
who
no
was?
care, U.S. Marines were, so we'll let you decide, but it's definitely worth mentioning. In Afghanistan, the U.S. Marines were shocked to see women wandering around shower blocks wrapped in nothing but a towel, with no cares in the world. The U.S. does have women in the armed forces, but they aren't always allowed to be on the front line or live in close proximity to their male counterparts. In the UK, on the other hand, women are seen as equals. Revolutionary concept. Despite their
What is seen in America? What? What? He just said in the UK, women are seen as equals. America, what are you guys doing?
surprise at the close working and living relationships between women and men in the British Army, the U.S. Marines soon realized these women were professional soldiers they needed to take seriously. But could the initial shock be a trump card up the sleeves of the British? Anyway, time to get on to the important stuff. The real factors that determine the success of a military side. Who can handle the most alcohol? It's a contentious topic. The British are known for drinking more heavily, and they can start at a younger age, but the U.S. soldiers might give them a run for their money. Around
Yo, how in the military? Yo, this guy knows the British soldier is doomed to the American soldier. So now we're taking it away from the military, and we're taking it to who could drink the most. What? Next is going to be who can drink the most cup of teas or something.
40% of U.S. soldiers indulge in binge drinking. I know what you're thinking. What does this have to do with the power of their militaries? Although drinking is a skill that might be impressive on a wild night out on the town, it's not a positive thing during combat. It's important for soldiers to keep their mental health stable over extended periods of combat. The soldiers might use alcohol as a way of coping with difficult experiences they encounter during the military instead of talking about them. Over half of British servicemen and women drank at a level that could harm their health in 2018, most likely to self-medicate from mental health conditions such as PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder. Similarly, alcohol as a coping mechanism is a huge problem among veterans. Wow, things just got dark. Back to a more lighthearted topic. You can't mention the drinking preferences of the British without mentioning their ultimate beverage of choice, tea. In contrast, the U.S. prefers coffee. Does this affect the
I prefer coffee.
combat performance of either side? Time to find out. Many British tanks and armored vehicles are fitted with water-boiling devices. Cube-shaped kettles enable the troops to boil water inside the protection of a tank and drink tea to their heart's content.
I did not know that. Wow. They designed a tank with in mind that the Brits are going to be drinking a cup of teas.
Maybe that's why the British were willing to sacrifice the sturdiness of their vehicles in Afghanistan. This might seem a bit eccentric, not to mention pointless, but hear us out. During World War II, a large number of fatalities were caused by crew members having to leave the safety of their tanks when they needed a break. There was only one reasonable solution. Let them make a brew inside the tank. That way, the troops were less of a target for enemy fire. 10 out of 10 for engineers.
Yo, you're telling me that the Brits was leaving tanks to get a cup of tea, make a cup of tea, and put themselves in danger. So there's like, let's make it so we can make cup of teas in tanks. Bro, he's making us sound so addicted to tea. Like, I know, well, maybe it's just because I don't drink tea. But maybe, yeah, maybe another Brit watching this is like, no, I would. I'd do that.
The safety of their tanks when they needed a break. There was only one reasonable solution. Let them make a brew inside the tank. That way, the troops were less of a target for enemy fire. 10 out of 10 for ingenuity. Who knows, maybe this could be their secret weapon in a future war. There's nothing like a fresh brew to keep an army going. But don't discount the Americans, because they also seem to recognize the importance of a lovely warm beverage. The U.S. Army aims to ensure coffee is always available to its soldiers, whether in ration packs or at garrisons. Sometimes there are shortages, so improvisation comes into play to give the soldiers their daily fix. During the Korean War, some soldiers indulged in sock coffee, coffee filtered using a sock. Or if the worst comes to worst, they just mix instant coffee granules with cold water and down it like a shot of vodka. Lovely. It's worth it to have that caffeine coursing through your veins ready for battle. Clearly,
honestly, I need a coffee every morning, right? And that's just for me to sit in this chair and play games and stuff, right? Being in the army, I will need that coffee every morning, midday, and maybe, well, night, yeah, because you'll be doing jobs and missions at night.
Both sides have their vices, but we'll have to give the Brits the edge on this one, based purely on the fact that they're less likely to drop dead from swallowing some questionable feet fungi. In this capitalist
You're telling me so far in this whole video, the American soldier versus the British soldier, we've won the drinking. I don't even want to accept that, man. I don't even take it back.
fact that they're less likely to drop dead from swallowing some questionable feet fungi.
Take it back,
In this
man.
capitalist world, soldiers aren't just fighting for their national pride or a noble cause. They also want to receive their paycheck at the end of it all. The draft ended in 1973 after the Vietnam War in the USA, making the Army a professional, career-oriented force. In the British Army, the national service officially ended in 1960, and it transformed into a professional army in 1963. So who gets the fattest check? New recruits in the British Army start on a salary of £15,985 a year in training, soon going up to $20,400 when becoming a private. After a few years, if they can reach the rank of sergeant, the salary will go up to £35,853 a year.
Oh. Okay. Our sergeants in the UK get paid more than the sergeants in America? Hey, that's a good job, man.
That's around $46,000. In the U.S. Army, new recruits can expect to earn $24,512 a year as a private first class after initial training. A sergeant earns anything up to $29,610 a year. So we have a clear winner here. Let's hope the Americans don't find out, or they could end up switching sides. Now that would be an interesting war. With so much money, you'd hope the British soldiers would go through a half-decent training program. Let's find out if that's the case.
Right.
In the UK, most soldiers complete a 14-week common military syllabus, followed by specialist training for different trades and divisions. US soldiers train for slightly less time. They complete a 10-week basic combat training course, then complete more career-oriented training. Overall, both countries offer a similar style of training based on fitness, discipline, and weaponry. It's hard to say that one country is definitively superior here, but there is one key difference: the age of the recruits. A U.S. soldier must be 17 to join the forces with parental consent, or 18 without the consent. Meanwhile, Brits can join at the age of 16 if they have parental consent, making the UK the only NATO country to recruit young people into its military at age 16.
16-year-olds in the army. Wow.
It's a controversial policy, considering these recruits must remain in the Army until they're 22, and they can't even vote or drink alcohol until they turn 18. With literal boys among them who might have joined the forces as a rash decision, could British soldiers be flakier and less mature than their US counterparts?
I'm very surprised you can join the army at 16. That's a big decision for someone so young. That's actually crazy.
Or is their youth just a testament to how tough they are? But this is just the beginning. Average soldiers might make up the bulk of the army, but what about the guys that are really, really well trained? We're talking about elite special forces. The British Army has the famous SAS, or Special Air Service. Founded during World War II, it's one of the oldest special forces and has the highest entry requirement of all British forces, with the motto, "Who dares wins." The SAS is respected and feared across the globe in equal measure. It's heavily involved in reconnaissance and counterterrorism, meaning most of their work is below the radar and people like us can't get too nosy about it. However, they do plenty of cool and hardcore stuff, like rescuing hostages. Not to be outdone, the U.S. Army has the highly respected and admired Delta Force, also known as the 1st Special Forces Operation Detachment. Formed in 1977, it's known as one of the most secretive U.S. forces.
Yeah, you know what? I like a lot, like, the American, like, special forces, right? Because there's so many movies on them, TV shows and stuff like that. Man, they're badass, man. They're so cool. Not that the movies portray them, like, correctly, but what I know, they're sick.
Formed in 1977, it's known as one of the most secretive U.S. forces and specializes in counterterrorism and hostage rescue. Sounding familiar yet? Allegedly, the Delta Force was modeled on the British SAS. We want to give the Brits the point here for sheer originality. But it's not exactly good news for them if the Americans know the training secrets and operations of their elite forces. That's a rookie error if there ever was one, especially when there are way more U.S. soldiers and they have better equipment. What about the heads of the armies? The U.S. Army serves the government of the USA, making the President of the U.S. Commander-in-Chief. Meanwhile, the British Army serves Her Majesty the Queen as head of the armed forces, who is also their commander-in-chief. Her Majesty the Queen
Rest in
Elizabeth
peace.
is closely tied to the British military, having been a wife, mother, and even grandmother of individuals serving in the armed forces. During World War II, the Queen, who was then Princess Elizabeth, joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service herself and learned to maintain and drive military vehicles and ambulances.
Oh,
She
wow.
even achieved the rank of Honorary Junior Commander while doing her part for the war effort. By comparison, the current US president, as of this script's writing, claimed to suffer bone spurs when it was his time to serve his country. Points here for the badass monarch up to her elbow in Greece, fixing
Hell
combat
yeah.
vehicles and serving her country. Overall, the British and American armies are matched fairly evenly in terms of their training and structure.
Why are we sinking then? Bro, you say we're much evenly. I was thinking?
It doesn't exactly come as a surprise, considering their histories are so closely linked. Realistically, the Americans would likely have the upper hand in any war against the Brits due to sheer
Oh, you guys are picking us up again. Hey, you know what? Listen, this was a fun video to watch, but you know, at least you guys got our backs. You know what I mean? We're good allies. You know what I'm saying? We're good allies. And yeah, please again, any ideas to change that? Thank you. Me.
manpower and weaponry. But let's hope the two sides can settle their differences over a cup of tea or coffee. Now
Yeah.
check out our India and
Yeah, that was a cool video. Enjoyed that. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And also let me know down below if you guys would protect me, take me as an American if we ever did go to war. I probably most likely will definitely switch sides. But yeah, good video. Obviously, the British soldier loses that. It's a no-brainer. The American military is just mad compared to anyone, really. Yeah, great video. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you thumbs up, subscribe for more content. Live every single day on twitch.tv/L3WG. If you guys want to check me out over there, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.